You, Hagen, myself, as always. Hagen, how you been? How was your weekend?
It's been good. Fantasy baseball season, so doing the draft right now, and then obviously too, I get to watch some baseball being played here now. I haven't been able to watch that many games, obviously, just because I've been at work during the middle of the days. But it's been fun just looking at the data, seeing some new stuff on guys are doing, seeing the pitches that pitchers have talked about that they're going to add to their arsenals or tweak things up a little bit. It's fun seeing those things come to life. So it's always a fun part of the year for me.
Yeah, this is like the best part of the year for the fantasy baseball. Like, I think baseball, a large portion of the fans here, they love baseball because of the fantasy aspect. And I know there are cowards out there that look at fantasy baseball that's too much of a, oh no, I have to check my team every day for 5 minutes while I take a dump. Get over it. It's the best thing in the world. Imagine getting to check your team for fantasy football every day of the week. Like you get to actually plug and play guys who are going to impact your score. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a stats guy and I love the counting stats. I love the setting of a lineup every day. It's my love. And that's how Tyler, myself, we got into this. Is like Dean and I just were like, hey, we're having a lot of fun doing fantasy baseball with his dad's league, and we, just fell in love with it. Talking baseball got us into it, and like the more baseball that came about fantasy, the more we got into baseball itself. So I 100% agree with you. It is the best time of the year, drafting, preseason lists, sleepers, all that good stuff, guys who are going to bust. That being said, let's talk. This is kind of a boring subject. Like this episode's going to be pretty short, but this subject matter to me, the first thing we're going to talk about is the ABS system. I'm not like huge, like this doesn't tickle my fancy, but we got to talk about it just because it's a thing and it's very real. So that being said, spring games have been kicking off. Uh, Robot umps are here, so the rules will be the same you as the ones used in AAA and in the big league spring training from last season. Each team will get two challenges per game. If the challenge is right, it keeps that challenge. If it gets the challenge wrong, it loses a challenge. Similar to the NFL rules with challenges. Only hitters, catchers, and pitchers have the power to challenge, and they need to do that within 2 seconds of the umpire's call. They're being told they have to both tap their head and verbally challenge, so there's no confusion. So let's start with this. Hagen, how many times this upcoming season do you predict that there's going to be some sort of confusion between a player making a challenge call and not making a challenge call with an umpire?
I think they'll probably have it a couple times. I think that's why they say you have to have the verbal with the helmet because you watch a baseball game. I think it's pretty common to see guys after a pitch put their head on their helmet and try to adjust it a little bit. So I think that's very important that they're going to stress that you're full on tapping on your helmet and you're obviously saying you want to challenge too and probably looking at the umpire as well. I guess probably something they want to see too. So that's someone I think they'll try to get out there, but I think there's definitely gonna be some confusions out there. I mean, we've already seen some stuff in spring. I mean, you just see it the last couple of spring trainings where it's they had it last season. We had the spring training, this ABS challenge system. Even now, you're gonna see some issues with it. Some guys getting used to it and all this because these guys aren't the minor leaguers who have been using it for the last couple of years with these major league guys, but it just takes a little bit to adjust for the rules. You're on mute, Brett.
I don't even know how I went on mute. I don't even have my microphone here. So, I agree with your word. Your keyword there is adjustment to the rules. That phrasing, and I think that's what it's going to be. And like we asked for this because players were, and when I say we, I mean that very loosely and vaguely. Like players were sick of having terrible calls at the dish, and it's really hard to hit a baseball. We talk about this all the time. If you hit the baseball 30% of the time in your career and your career lasts long enough, you're going to the Hall of Fame. Like it's that simple. Like you're a 300 hitter. It's very hard to do. And like not having a consistent strike zone makes this game that we love that much more tough to play. So I think this is now a standardized thing where like they're bringing it to try and make it more fair to the hitter. And like we have to kind of give MLB applause for trying to switch this up a little bit. We've talked about this. There's MLB different dimensions every field. Pitchers, they're throwing at different velocities, different angles, and different pitches every game. This like it's different than every other sport. And I think that it could have used some standardization. And that being said, I wasn't for like total abolishment of umpires out there, and they're not going to be. There's still going to be umps out there. It's just more of how to get this process more to perfect than not. And I'm okay with improvement of the game. There's technology upgrades in the history of time. Why not upgrade the sport a little bit if we have the technology to do so? So the a few questions that keep coming up, and I want to hear your takes on these. So in terms of the challenge strategy, like when do you use your challenge, earlier or later in the game? So do you think more teams, if there's a high leverage count early in the game, do you think they're going to risk throwing a challenge out there for a call, or do you think they're going to still save in their back pocket for like sixth inning and on?
I think teams will probably want to keep at least one of those challenges for later in the game, especially just later in the game when you know that one swing can really change the outcome of the game. I know early on too, you can make the argument that if you have something go your right way, it could just totally change win expectancy early on in the game and then could put the game out of hand. But I think they'll let guys use it pretty freely. I think obviously there's gonna be certain guys, like a guy like a Juan Soto, you give that dude and you say you know the zone well, you can do whatever the hell you want. But I think they'll probably try to save one of them and use them for late innings. I think they'd rather prefer to use them later in the game. But if it's a big situation in the first couple innings of the game, I don't see why not use it. I mean, especially if you can use it and if you can help you get 3 or 4 runs across the board, if something goes well for you, I just gonna use it there. I think it's more just gonna be trust in your players and just trusting. I think managers are gonna have a lot of trust in their catchers behind the plate for knowing the zone well, especially these guys that are able to frame strikes and all this. They're gonna know them very well. I don't think they'll really want the pitchers doing that because pitchers are gonna have egos. You see a guy like Chris Sale saying, "I'm not gonna challenge that at all because he knows I have an ego on the mound and I think this." So the catcher has the best view there. So I think catchers and then hitters too. Sometimes hitters will get a little bit of ego too. But I mean, even the data will show that the catchers are the best at challenging and getting the calls right. I believe it's like 56% of the time. So I mean, it's almost you're getting it wrong every single time almost. I know it doesn't really grid out exactly, but I think we will see probably at least one challenge they'd want to keep for later innings in the game.
Yeah, and like the whole risk of it is like if you use a challenge and you get it wrong, you lose a challenge. So like me, I think this could be a very fluid situation. I think like early on in the year, if I'm a manager and I just have a conversation with my pitchers and catchers saying like, "Hey, if we're 85% sure or higher, let's make the call early in the game. Let's just get the out." It's the regular season, but as the season goes on, if there's a noticeable data statistic showing that like us calling the like we're blowing challenges because we used them in the beginning of the games and we're getting more wrong than right, I'm going to totally pivot that if I'm a manager, being like, "Hey, we're not calling it until sixth inning or beyond, no matter what." Like that. That's the standard. And like, I don't know. I just think it could be very fluid, and I think that it can get really interesting how managers tend to will go about this. And I think that some of the smarter managers, I don't know how off the top of my head, I'm not a smart manager. They're going to use this to manipulate the game in a sense where they're finding out strategies of how to use it, when and where, and that we're going to see managers get better at this as this goes forward. But that was one of the questions I want to ask. Should you wait until there are runners on in order to call a challenge, or like would you be hesitant if there's no one on? I think you're on mute now too.
Yes, I
There we go.
was. Thank you for that. I can see it both ways. I honestly think like the way I view it is you guys are Major League Baseball players. Like if you know like when to use things and when not to use them, have a feel for the game. If you're 100% confident it's the right call, make that call and then challenge it, get it right. And then just so we get the right call right. But just don't be an idiot and just let your ego get in the way and then you get it wrong and you lose a challenge the second inning of the game when you're the leadoff man or whatever it is. I mean, I just think you should just know like hey, you guys have played enough baseball in your lives. You know what the strike zone is. Like if it's very, very close and it's borderline, don't challenge then. If it's an obvious like you need to get a strike to a ball overturned, yeah, do that.
And finally, a good question that's come up is this going to be considered one part of the unwritten rules of baseball, where if you're challenged a full count strikeout, Would you do it if a pitcher has a perfect game going?
I can see how
I
that's
think
gonna
this is
be
a
an
good
unwritten
question.
rule thing.
I saw this in the
It's definitely something that's gonna be like an unwritten rule thing, but also like, let's say it's the guy has a no hitter going and they call it a strike, but it's an egregious call. It's like, no, that's actually a ball. Like, it's just get the call right. Like, you shouldn't benefit. It was a ball anyways. It should be called a ball anyways. You shouldn't benefit off an umpire making the wrong call to help your perfect game or no hitter keep going, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess it's more framed, and this is from the Athletic where I saw this. It was like more framed if it's a full count strikeout and the pitcher gets a strikeout. Like that does put a lot more pressure on than a 3-1 or a 3-0 count, and they call a ball a strike. In my opinion, but it'll be interesting to see how these rules play out. And like this is a new thing. This is a historic thing happening to the game of baseball this year. And like we'll see what we'll see probably at the end of the year. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of data, managers, players, fans, like who liked this, who didn't, was it effective, did it change the outcome of games, all that stuff. I'm going to leave that to the sabermetrics and the actuarial, analyst out there. I'm not going to take care of that. But no, it's super interesting. Something we had to talk about, knock out a portion of this episode for. Let's get to the fun part, though. Let's talk about some of the winners and losers from this offseason. I know we've been stalling on doing this, and I feel like this could take up the majority of our episode today. There were just certain winners, like I just refused to put in here. Like I was not going to put the Dodgers. The Dodgers are clearly the front runner winner of the offseason. It's just not fun to talk about because we all know that they won the offseason. I want to talk about some teams that don't get as much love as the Dodgers or, some of the bigger ball clubs out there in the bigger cities. And I can start off, unless you want to start off, Hagen, with your first winner.
Yeah, I guess what I would mind. I don't think it's very surprising if you know me very well. You know, I'm a very big fan of what's happened this offseason. But the New York Mets, I mean, I know this is going to come off as a homer pick, especially when you lose Edwin Diaz, Brendan Nimmo, Pete Alonso, and Jeff McNeil. You lose pretty much your core there. But I love what the Mets did this offseason. I mean, without even getting to the payroll side of it, I mean, you made the payroll more flexible with the Brandon Nimmo move. I know I love Brandon Nimmo. I miss him a lot, but that was a great move to get out of that deal there. I mean, you just pay a little bit more. You get Marcus Semien. You get your defense this offseason. The Mets defense really improved. And that's kind of what their biggest issue was last year with the pitching, obviously, just not being healthy. But they got their pitchers healthy again, and they got better defense. Their defense was awful last year. I mean, just watching Mets games last year, they just were not – there were just so many plays that did not get made that should have been made. And it ended up hurting them. And you mix that with pitchers that weren't pitching well, that's why you're going to be a bottom 5 team in baseball for 100 games, no matter how good your offense is. So they improved their defense a lot, which I really like. You get a guy like Luis Robert Jr., who I've wanted on this team for over 2 years now, probably. And you get a guy like him, if he can bounce back when he's the 7th or 6th best hitter in your lineup there, that's huge there. You like Jorge Polanco there. I mean, you get Bo Bichette in on this team too. I mean, this team is a brand new look Mets. I mean, pretty much my entire fandom, I saw the 2015 team with the David Wright and those guys. That team was only that really a core for a couple of years. And then it kind of became this Alonso and Lindor. Like, that's the best core I've seen. And now this is a whole new look Mets where this is Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor's Mets with Nolan McLean and Freddie Peralta at the top of the rotation. And I'm very excited. And I really love what David Stearns did this offseason.
Yeah, I thought about putting the Mets down as a winner for me, but then I was like, there's no freaking way Hagen's not going to do this. So I just kept it off. And I went with the Mariners. This is a little bit of a biased pick for those who don't know and who are listening. Hagen, you probably picked this up. Seattle's my second favorite team. Like in terms of, I love what they do. I love Jerry DePoto. I love their color scheme. I love the players they draft and retain. And obviously, like I'm not a historical Mariners fan or anything like that, but like the guys on the team now, how could you not like if you're not in the AL West, who's rooting against Julio Rodriguez? Who's rooting against Logan Gilbert? You know what I mean? Like they have likable guys who just ball out, and like who's rooting against Brian Wu right now? Like no one. If you are, you're a loser. And I think the Mariners, on top of what they already have, They retained Josh Naylor on a 5-year deal to solidify him down at first base. They went out and traded for Brandon Donovan. They went out and acquired Cooper Criswell. They went out and got arbitration and contract extensions done with Bryce Miller, Matt Brash, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Gabe Spear, Randy Rosarena, Luke Rayleigh. They did a lot to maintain the core of their team and add to this team. And then when you look at the departures, sure, they lost Logan Evans for the year, which sucks. Like, and he like looked like a really good depth arm for them. They also lost Ty Pete, pretty high prospect, Ben Williamson, and was it Harry Ford? I guess Harry Ford. I went to the Nationals in that deal. Um, I don't care about the losses that much because the Mariners still have an elite farm system. They still have guys like Colt Emerson in the farm system, and Ryan Sloan, like guys that are coming up, and Sloan won't be here for a while, but he looks like a dog. I think the Mariners do it well, and they're now coming to the point of like Dodgers-esque, where their farm system's so good year over year, where they can afford to get rid of a few prospects, bring in MLB guys to partner with their core. Like Julio Rodriguez is going to be the centerpiece of this team for the next 10 years. Like he's 24 years old, and he's probably going to be a future ballot Hall of Famer based off the numbers that he's put up so far. That's what I'm going off of. But I don't know. I think that they added a lot. They didn't lose a lot, and I have to say I think they're just as good this year, if not better, heading into the season to go make a run for a World Series and finally capture that title that they've been so desperate to have as a fan and an organization.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Mariners, like, it sucks you lose Gino Suarez and like a Jorge Polanco there, but yeah, look, like the way I look at him in the Gino Suarez ways, yeah, it sucks that, but Cole Emerson's going to be up at some point, and you can just put him over at third base. So you're losing Gino, but you're really just opening up a roster spot for Cole Emerson, the number top 10 prospect, pretty much consensusly in baseball, to come up
N-
there and play third base for
number
him.
five, number five, according to RM Lane in Just Baseball, Cole Emerson. And like also, I didn't even put Eugenio Suarez as a loss. He was so bad for them when he got moved there in the middle of last season. He was great for Arizona, terrible for Seattle. So like, is it a loss? No, they spent the money in other directions. And
Yeah.
then Jorge Polanco, fair, fair.
But then you
I
pretty much
forgot
replace
his
him with
name.
Brendan Donovan, though. I mean, you pretty much just maybe you got less offense there, but you got better defense.
Yeah. All right, let me hear your second winner.
Yeah, my second winner this offseason's got to be the Baltimore Orioles. And I wish they would have done slightly more this offseason and gotten a true frontline guy, whether it was a Fromber. But you can't hate what the Baltimore Orioles did this offseason. I mean, just what they did. I mean, you bring in a guy like your depth piece, like Zach Eflin to come in there, fill some innings for you if you need them. You get Shane Baz to fill there in the rotation, which was huge for them too. I mean, Shane Baz is probably their biggest move on the pitching side. You get Chris Bassett. You fill out half of your rotation there with Kyle Bradish, who can be a frontline pitcher if everything works out and he's healthy. I mean, that guy, they're kind of looking at it and saying this guy is our ace when he's healthy. And you play that with Trevor Rogers too, who was one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball last year when he was on the mound. And then offensively, I mean, you get Taylor Ward, who give me a 30 home run bat. It was last year for the Angels. You had him in there. I know the fit felt a little weird at first, but then you had Pete Alonso. I mean, Pete Alonso. When you look at the deal too with Pete Alonso, we got 5 years, $150 million. When you look at some of these other deals that a lot of the free agents got, I think Pete Alonso might end up being down the best bang for your buck at the end of the contract. I mean, Pete Alonso too. He was someone I wanted the Mets to really re-sign. That was kind of the only move that I didn't really agree with on David Stearns, not even offering him a contract. That one I was very kind of against there. I think Pete Alonso is going to be a good hitter for the next 5 years. I mean, he was top 10 in MVP voting last year as a first baseman. I mean, he's not really going to do much defensively. Yes, we know those are issues there, but I mean, Pete Alonso rakes. He's a top 10 to 15 hitter in the sport. I mean, you add that alone, they already put the Baltimore Orioles in the winner's home for me this offseason.
Baltimore Orioles. So funny enough, I didn't want to put them down. I was going to put them as a loser for different reasons. I hate the fact that like the way they went about adding to this rotation. I think that they added, but at the same time, there's so many question marks that they're adding to the rotation. Like Shane Baz. I love Shane Baz, but I don't know what Shane Baz is. I don't know what he is as a starter. You move Grayson, who you had 5 years of control over, and I like part of me tells me, okay, Baltimore just fleeced Los Angeles, the Angels on that, and they moved him and realized like he's never going to get better. And then there's the other half of me like, did Baltimore really punt early on Grayson here? Because like 5 years is a lot of time, especially for a guy of his age. What is Grayson Rodriguez? 25 years old, maybe, if that, 26. Um, I don't know. I just think for the lineup and the personnel that the Baltimore Orioles have, you had to go get Framber. You had to go get better pitchers than what the current staff is. Even like going after a Nick Martinez, which the Rays went and got, and I like guys like that. I think would really bolster the back end of the rotation. But I could be proven wrong. Like I'm not the biggest Dean Kramer guy. Dean Kramer could be fantastic for this year. Kyle Bradish looks amazing every time he takes the bump when he's healthy. And it's like, is he going to be healthy for the full year? So that's why I was out on Baltimore, even though they added Alonso, who's a dog. Um, but I'm going to take the Cardinals as my second winner. And I think Heim Bloom is starting to build a juggernaut in St. Louis, which he has the backing of ownership. He now has shedded in a few contracts. He moved Sonny Gray to the Red Sox. He was due $31 million this year and a mutual option for $30 million in 2027. They moved Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras is in the middle of a 5-year, $87.5 million contract. They sent him to Boston as well. They also shipped off Nolan Arenado, where I'm pretty sure they're helping pay for a little bit of the salary, but he's no longer on their books. He's no longer their problem after they pay this off. And what did they do? They went out and got guys like George Soriano. They got Hunter Dobbins. They got Yohiker Ferrardo. They got Durangelo Senja. They got a lot of prospects in return. And that doesn't include the guys they already had. Like Mason Wynn is going to be the core of this team with now it looks like JJ Weatherholt. And I think that if JJ Weatherholt gets moved over to third or maybe second, I'm not sure how they're going to play that out with Mason Wynn locking down a shortstop. I think they have two really nice pieces. They got a few prospects that we've mentioned on the show earlier, like Takoa Roby, Quinn Matthews. Who's the third guy in the arm for St. Louis? I'm forgetting about off the top of my head. Tink Hence. They have a ton of pieces that now add to this team, and they have a lot of money flexibility going into next year's free agency. I think Heim Bloom knocked it out of the park for the pieces that he had to move and getting, some sort of return of value for the team now.
Yeah, I liked how Heim Bloom was able to use some of their financial power to help get a better prospect return, eat some of that money too. For years, they're not really going to be too competitive. And also, use Phil Thompson's backup. Obviously, they needed really an overhaul in their players that they had in their minor league system there. So I really like the job he did there.
Okay. Um, Appreciate that. Who's your first loser?
Yeah, my first loser, and I'm going to keep this very, very short because I think they kind of had a pathetic offseason, is the Atlanta Braves. This is not me just being a Mets fan hating. I have loved the Braves as just their roster constructed for a while now. I just think you look at this. Ha-Seong Kim, you gave him the $21 million. That's not my issue there. I think you're a loser there because you give him that and he slips on ice and has to get finger surgery. He's out for half the year. That just kind of sucks. Like, I'm sorry, that just sucks for the team. Spencer Spellenbach, he's going to be out for half the year. That just kind of sucks too. So the only move that they really made to make a difference, you can say Mike Yastrzemski, but who cares about Mike Yastrzemski in 2026? I mean, he's a platoon bat at best nowadays. He's an average platoon bat nowadays. He's not this insane player anymore. Your move was adding a 35-year-old setup man. That's the only thing you really did to improve this team. That you could argue the bench is slightly better, but like, I'm not going to give you a winner of an offseason if you improve your bench and you get Jonah Heim. I really don't care. I mean, the only thing they really did to improve this team this offseason was add Robert Suarez. I guess you could say Raisel Iglesias, you brought him back too, but those are two relievers who are 35, 36 years old. I mean, that's the only thing you did. I just don't think they had a very good offseason at all.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of this offseason, I would have argued with you. I would have been like, no, you're wrong. The Braves, they have the bats. They had starters to make a run this year, and they added Robert Suarez, and that really gave you that 1-2 punch in the eighth and ninth inning. Fast forward a couple months now, and I agree with you because the starting rotation, which we thought they were going to have heading into 2026, it's not there. There's no Schwellenbach right now. There's no AJ Smith-Shawver. There's no oh my goodness, who just got injured the other day? I'm having a brain fart on live right now.
Horst Waldrop.
Hurston Waldrop. They're losing. Spencer Strider did not come back the way we thought, and a lot has been taken off his fastball. Chris Sale, of course, he's a dog, probably, borderline Hall of Famer, Hall of Very Good when it's all said and done. I think that the pitching staff is depleted, and I don't trust in Reynaldo Lopez. I don't trust in like Bryce Elder to get it done. And it doesn't matter if you have Iglesias and Robert Suarez in the ninth, eighth, and ninth if you don't have a lead. And your bats might be able to get it done, but the bats haven't gotten it done for 2 years, right? And like I know that's a very harsh take because it's like, well, the guys are good. We understand that, but you have to put up, you have to put up results on the field in order for me to buy in. And that being said, I'm with you on this. I think the Braves are missing out on a massive opportunity, and I think Acuna he will be a free agent next year at the end of the year. He has an opt out in his 7-year deal that he signed. So
it's a club option. It's a club option. He's got 3 years. 3 years left with the Braves.
But is he allowed to, or is it just the club has the option? I thought he had an option. Okay,
no, so it's club options for the next 3 years, I believe.
Okay, no, that's not my bad. But like, why we have Drake Baldwin, National League Rookie of the Year catcher? Why are we not moving Sean Murphy for a starter of some sort? Like, how many reps are both those guys going to get? You needed a starter. You still can make moves to get a starter, but like Anthopoulos has been sitting on his hands, it seems like, and he doesn't want to do anything. Like, it's like, no, this is my core. We're going with it. It's like, I truly think that at the end of July now, with this rotation, the way it's looked, if Strider does not bounce back in major fashion, I think the Braves are going to be a 500 team come the end of July. Like, I think it's good. We're in another year for like not a fun year of Braves baseball if they can't figure out this rotation or make a trade here.
I mean, we already saw last year if you can't stay healthy. I mean, like I love Ronald Acuna Jr. as a player and stuff, but the dude just hasn't been able to stay healthy the last couple of years. And yes, I know he's had some big knee injuries. You can't really do that. Austin Riley, same thing. He hasn't been able to stay healthy the last couple of years, and he's had some stuff dealing with that. But I can't really blame that on him. But it's just like, if they do go down again, we've seen what this team is. When these guys are hurt, this team's not that good of a team.
Look at 4-5, and that's if Strider and Sale, if they're awesome, like I just there's no depth. It feels like there's no depth on this rotation. And that's a huge issue. But I like it. I'm gonna tell you my first loser of the offseason, the Philadelphia Phillies. So this is a hot take. They got JT Realmuto back. They got Schwarber back. Who did they add? Adolis Garcia, who's like a shell of himself right now. I think that, and with everything going on in Philly land and Dombrowski making comments about Bryce Elder not being elite anymore, I start to wonder, like, what's the vibe in Philly? And like we know that we might get Zach Wheeler back for opening day. We might not. Aaron Nola was horrible last year. They lost Ranger Suarez, who was like a critical piece of this rotation to Boston. You're rolling out Jesus Luzardo as your number 2 right now behind Christopher Sanchez, who's fantastic. But like Taijuan Walker, we've talked about him. We don't want him throwing more than max 100 innings. Like, if you're a true contender, you don't want that. And then Andrew Painter, kudos to him. Like, I have him in dynasty leagues, but he's a prospect. He is a prospect by definition, and like, we don't know how he's going to shake out. So this team in Philly that's a contender, they didn't do a whole lot to improve the rotation. In fact, they've suffered loss after loss. The bullpen, Juan Duran, Jose Alvarado, Brad Keller, Kirkering, I think is going to bounce back. I think the bullpen's fine. It's really just like the back half of the lineup. So, like, honestly, hitters 6, 7, 8, 9 for me between Stott, Real Muto, Crawford, Garcia, and Brandon Marsh in that mix, wherever they end up hitting. I think that there's not holes, but like there's just not the talent the Phillies need in order to make a deep National League run this year.
Yeah, my two thoughts on the Phillies offseason was the JT Remuto was probably the dumbest move of the offseason, probably the worst contract given out because why the hell are you giving him 3 years in the first place? And why the hell are you paying him that much money? I mean, that was the worst, I think, the worst contract. I mean, this dude is an average hitter and a below average catcher now in Major League Baseball. You can say, oh, he handles the staff well. I'm not paying $15 million here who just handles a staff well and he's a league average hitter and he's 35 years old and aging. I do not care about that. I think that was the dumbest contract given out this offseason. And I think they also needed to add a starter, like you said, too. I think they had some financial issues here going late into offseason, but they just need a starter in there, too. Obviously, my thoughts on that might change a little bit if Wheeler's ready to go and everything. But either way, I feel like it was just a very just lateral offseason. Like, it wasn't really, I can't say they really got worse by any means. I can't really say they got better by any means. I just think it's very lateral.
Yeah, and I that's why they're a loser to me. It's like you the last 4 years were the team that could like possibly take down the Dodgers and like especially with the healthy Zach Wheeler and you didn't add to this rotation at all. And like there were guys like out here you could have been the team to go trade for Brendan Donovan and improve the middle of the lineup a little bit. They could have been the team that went out and signed, whoever. Why did they go get Jorge Polanco? The Mets did. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they didn't make the upgrades to make them that competitive team. Like I don't think that, and maybe people are peeling over and cowering, but like you are not going to beat this Dodgers team right now the way they are without like really having some sort of elite or high end talent at every position. That's just how the Dodgers are rolling right now. And the Philly, they don't have the dot farm system. So it's like you had to go spend money, and this was your time to do it. You don't have the prospects to go and trade for in the middle of the year. Like, hey, we have a massive issue at whatever position it is, like third base, let's just call it. And like they don't have that. And I don't know. Between not having the prospects and not going and get the guys in the offseason, I think this was just a big red flag for Philly this year. Um, that's why I'm in Hagen on the Mets winning the division this year. I'm in on it. And my last loser, this one I don't know if people are going to like it or not, and I expect to get a little bit of attacked. The Astros. You could argue that the Astros didn't need to do much. Jordan Alvarez, one of the best hitters in baseball, he missed virtually the entire year last year. You have Altuve, who's a dog. You have Correa back now. You have guys like Hunter Brown who are going to lead the charge. My big thing with the Astros is their outfield depth is suspect at best. Do you know who their three starting outfielders are right now? If you didn't look,
Jordan Alvarez, Jake Myers, and Zach Cole.
so they're going to probably start Jordan at the DH, and
Sneak
Joey
Altuve.
Loperfido is going to play. So Loperfido, Zach Cole, and Jake Myers are going to be their starting outfield. I just think that that outfield lacks pop, and it's like one of the worst hitting outfields in baseball right now. Like just looking at it, especially for a contender. Yeah, and then like the pitchers, Hunter Brown's fantastic. Christian Javier coming off major injury. He came back a little bit last year. I don't know what we're going to get with him. Tatsuya Imai has never pitched a major league inning in his life. Lance McCullers, more fragile than I'm trying to think of an NFL player who's always hurt. Anthony Day Two Davis over here. We'll call him Anthony Davis of the major leagues. Mike Burrows, yeah, he's good, but you see what I'm getting at. Like this was a contender who's won two World Series in the last 10, 15 years. You moved on from Tucker, you moved on from Correa, you brought him back. Like, what is the identity of the Astros heading into 2026? And I just don't know. Like, are they still the scary Astros? Are they just like a decent ball club at this point. Like, where are you at with the Astros? And do you think I'm wrong because they did get Imai, which was a big addition to the rotation on paper, at least.
Yeah, I think the Astros didn't really. I think they're still in that World Series caliber team. I think that's the window is very closing here very soon. But I really like the Tatsuya Imai move. I really like that one a lot. But you already got Hunter Brown, one of the top 10 pitcher in baseball there at the front of the rotation there. I really like the Mike Burrows. My only issue with the roster is just the construction, and it doesn't really get back to the offseason. It's more of trading for Carlos Correa last trade deadline. It's because that kind of tied you up a little bit financially too from excluding you can't do other moves. But I mean, like you said, the outfield too. Like Jose Altuve is going to play second base every day. Jordan Alvarez is going to DH. Isak Paredes is going to play where? You're going to put a 125 to 130 WRC plus bat who had 30 home runs for you on the bench? No, Isak Paredes is going to be lined up every single day too. So you're either going to, and I think they believe they said Altuve is going to stick at second base. So that means you're running Jordan Alvarez out there in the outfield every single day. Unless you're putting Isak Paredes out there. Either way, your left fielder is going to be absolutely garbage defensively. Especially playing, it's a very hard left field to play there with the Crawford boxes. It's almost like a little Fenway in a sense. So you're doing that. So your defense is already going to get dinged a ton there. And obviously, yes, there's an injury, something goes down there. You like a Correa needs time off or whatever. You can slide around that way. But it doesn't really make sense because no matter what's going on, you're going to have an awful left fielder defensively.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's a good point about the Crawford boxes. Hagen, let's hear your last loser.
Yeah, my last loser is the Cincinnati Reds, and for one reason only, because they showed their fans this offseason that they could afford a player like Kyle Schwarber and pay him $40 million a year, and they miss out on him. And what did they do? After that, they signed Pierce Johnson for $5.5 million, Emilio Pagan for $10 million, who was just a re-sign, and you brought him back anyways, your closer, and Geno Suarez for $15 million. So you showed your fans you could spend that money, and then you cheaped out and said we're not going to spend anything at all. I think that's pathetic.
I tend to agree. I tend to agree, especially with the young talent the Reds have. Like the Reds have so many. The Reds are like the National League Twins, but more successful. They have so many random guys who like show a lot of like they're interesting. They have either a lot of pop or a lot of speed, or they're really just well rounded or what have you. And like they just don't put it all together. They don't go all in ever. And I would love to see the Reds, especially with the contracts that they have right now. Like Hunter Green's not on a massive deal. Chase Burns not on a massive deal. Andrew Abbott's not on a massive deal. Ellie's not on a massive deal. Like if you look at all their players, who's on a massive deal in Cincinnati? No one's on a massive deal. And like, how can you let, miss getting Kyle Schwarber, who's not a defensive player. He's only a hitter. He's going to hit tanks. And you essentially got that with Suarez, but like, I don't know. It was lackluster for me, and I agree. They are definitely a loser of the offseason. That being said, I think the Reds could still make the playoffs. I just don't think that they won the offseason.
Yeah, I think they didn't think they won the offseason. I think obviously I don't think they had a good offseason at all. I also don't think they can make the playoffs. I think last year they were not a playoff team. They made the playoffs because the Mets were awful for 100 games. That's the only reason why they did not make the playoffs. You saw it in the playoffs too. That team's not any good. They're not any better this year. This team's not a very good baseball team.
So we'll move on. We'll go to some news, injuries, and then last takes, and we'll talk about the AL East rotations here. A couple just signings this week. Michael Conforto signs a minor league deal with the Cubs. Rhys Hoskins signs a minor league deal with the Cleveland Guardians. I'm surprised Rhys Hoskins was forced to sign a minor league deal. I thought he would at least get a 1-year deal somewhere. But any takes on these two?
Yeah, I think I agree with you too. Where I thought that Rhys Hoskins especially would get a major league deal, and I think he'll end up making the big league club. I mean, even like Ross Resource has him slotted in there as the everyday first baseman. I think he's going to make the club there and make a big impact for him. I mean, he slots in that lineup. He's already a middle league order bat for him. So, and I believe he's healthy too, which is good. So, I like that fit a lot for Cleveland, a guy that can get some thump in the lineup with him. And the Cubs with Michael Conforto. Michael Conforto is always going to be one of my favorite players out there. I know it was awful last year with the Dodgers, but we can't. A year ago, he got $18 million. I know he might be washed out when he's older, but taking a flyer on Michael Conforto, I love. I mean, he's someone that can, if you need to come fill a spot for you, he can do that. I mean, they have some death moves down, like Tyler Austin and stuff. I mean, they have these guys where if someone goes down, let's say a PCA goes down, God forbid, or say a Suzuki goes down, Ian Happ, you have some major league caliber guys come in and fill some spots and hopefully have a little bit of upside. Like a guy like Michael Conforto, I feel like can have.
Yeah. No, good take there. I want to just comment on the Cubs for a second here. Something I noticed: Seiya Suzuki, Nico Horner, and Ian Happ, they're all on contract years. So like the Cubs could have a total facelift from their core from this year to next year. I thought this was really interesting considering they just signed Bregman, who's like obviously going to be the core piece of who they build around for the next 3 to 4 years. Him and PCA. Did you notice this? Did you think this is weird with them bringing in Bregman and like the way the Cubs are? They haven't been the big spenders really. Did they? I don't know. Like these are three solid bats for the Cubs that are all going to be gone. I think they're all going to find new homes.
I mean, I can tell you Tom Ricketts loves seeing a bunch of free agency because he's a very cheap owner, doesn't want to spend all the money that he has and the money he's getting from Wrigley Development. So he loves to see this. I mean, I'll even take it a step further. Like the free agents, and I'm going to include mutual options here too because those don't get accepted. I believe it's been like 8 years since one of those has been accepted. These are the free agents after this year. Shota Managa, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Jameson Tyone, Matthew Boyd, Nico Horner, Hunter Harvey, Carson Kelly, Caleb Thielbar, Hobie Milner, and Tyler Austin. Those guys are all on their major league roster. That's half your major league roster right there is free agents after the year. And that doesn't even include if they want to use the club options and decline them on Colin Ray, Javier Assad, and Jacob Webb. I mean, you could literally get rid of like 18 dudes, just free agents on your major league roster this year. So the Cubs, I think, are going to be very different looking at this year. They have a lot of money coming off the books there, probably around like $50 million. So I think they'll probably keep some of these guys, but they definitely have a new look after the season.
Yeah, it's just an interesting thing I caught this week. Whether there's lack of baseball news to go through and talk about. But let's talk about the last thing of the show. Let's talk about AL East and the rotations going on. So, in my opinion, the AL East is the best division in baseball right now. I think it has the most teams able to win, like make the playoffs. And that being said, depending how the Rays go this year, I think the AL East has 5 teams that could potentially make the playoffs. I don't think that they're going to have 5 teams. I don't think they're going to have 4 teams make the playoffs. What I'm saying, I just want to make sure this is clear. I think they have 5 teams with enough talent to somehow make the playoffs. I don't think we really need to talk about the Yankees and the Blue Jays' ability to make the playoffs. We know the Red Sox, they're loaded now with talent. We know the Orioles are loaded with talent. It's all about pitching. And then the Rays going Ray. They have plenty of talent. They finagle and move things to their advantage, and they call guys up at the right time. They get rid of guys at the right time. Who knows? Especially if some teams out there have injury issues, the Rays could totally sneak into a wild card spot. But let's talk about. You want to start from the bottom up, and we'll move up to the top with the rotations.
Yeah, we can start from the bottom. And with mine, I think we already differed here a little bit. I had the Tampa Bay Rays at fifth, and this one obviously feels a little weird because they can have some guys come up there and fill spots in rotation. It's just the fact that like you have Drew Rasmussen, Nick Martinez, Steven Matson there that are all like, I mean, they're serviceable guys in there. I like some of those guys a lot, like Nick Martinez, but like the top of your rotation there is going to be Ryan Pepio, who I think we've seen good things from. It just sometimes he just has to stay healthy, and Shane McClanahan. I just can't really bank on anything with Shane McClanahan right now. And I know that he's healthy, he's going to be ready to go, but we haven't seen him in 2 years. I don't know what I can get out of him. It's like the Wheeler thing where it's like, I don't know how to judge that. I don't know how he's going to look, all this. So I just have to kind of call it a wash on him, I guess, which kind of sucks. But this could be one I definitely am like biting, kicking myself for in even a month from now. I'd say that was an awful ranking.
The Red Sox, after Crochet and Suarez, or Sonny Gray, as your 1, 2, 3, you have like 4 or 5 number 5 starters. And I think that with the Baltimore Orioles, you have Kyle Bradish, who might be your guy, and then I think between Trevor Rogers, Bassett, Shane Boz, Zach Eflin, and Dean Kramer, you have like another 5, 6, 4 starters. Like I just don't like the depth and I don't like the talent. Versus the Rays, Drew Rasmussen's a dog. Pepio came off a fantastic year last year. McClanahan, yes, we haven't seen in 2 years. I'll give you that. And that's a huge, huge question mark. But he's their ace in the hole. Because if McClanahan's back, he's better than every pitcher on the Baltimore rotation right now, if he's back to where he gets to. He was considered the best left-handed pitcher in baseball 2 years, like right before the injury. And now, you have massive surgery on the elbow. That obviously changes a little bit. But McClanahan, I think he wants to be back. I think he's been working really hard to get back. And the Rays, like, I don't think that they, take these things lightly. I think they're very smart and strategic about how they play their guys. And last year, after you had a little forearm tightness, they were like, "No, you're done. Like, you're done for this year. Let's figure it out." Because it's like there's no point to risk you. You are a fantastic pitcher. Um, so I like the Rays lineup for 1, 2, and 3. And then if you look at the rest of it, Nick Martinez, you named, is awesome. And Steven Matz, you probably know more. I just know he's a Long Island boy who went to Wood Melville. He's going to be their 5. And I'm sure as a Mets fan, you probably have a sour taste in your mouth from Steven Matz at this point.
I really don't. I like seeing Steve Max succeed. I actually didn't know they signed him to be a starter because he was a reliever for Boston last year, or St. Louis maybe too. But I mean, I really got nothing. I want to see Steve Max succeed. But I mean, even just my argument too on the Orioles rotation, why I think they're better. I think I like their floor a lot better. I think like the Rays have some like guys who are like just kind of back end guys. I know like they're gonna have that and Eflin in there, but like Bassett can be pretty solid for you. And you got like Bradish can be an ace. We saw what Trevor Rogers can do, whether he's going to do that again or not. And then Shane Boz can be a frontline guy too if everything works out for him.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's very fair. So let's talk about our number 3. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, this one it got hard here. It was just kind of picking hairs here a little bit, so it got a little tough for me. But I had the Yankees at 3, and that's because I mean, like obviously Max Fried. I don't need to talk anything about Max Fried at all. Cam Schlittler. I think that he needs to do a little bit more. I just don't like Cam Schlittler right now as a 2. And obviously, like a Ryan Weathers, he could be great. I mean, the stuff today was electric. What he was doing today, him and Luis Heel back there in the back of the rotation with Will Warren. I mean, like it's a good rotation. My whole thing is like Garrett Cole's not going to be Garrett Cole when he comes back, and he's coming off Tommy John surgery. You can't bank on him to be Garrett Cole. So I can't put him just you have Garrett Cole in rotation. You're going to be top whatever. Carlos Rodon too. I don't know how he's going to look coming off elbow surgery with his bones getting removed. I don't think it's going to be as serious as Garrett Cole there, but I think once you add him back in there, I'd probably put him above Boston. But I'm talking right now, just rotations I want for the full 162, not when we're talking about the postseason.
Okay. I won't hate you forever for giving the Yankees 3rd place here. I put down the Red Sox as 3. The Red Sox they added. I just like the Yankees frontline guys better. Everything I've heard about Cole is a nut job when it comes to work regimen and health and keeping up on it. And I did not expect to see Garrett Cole back before the All-Star break this year. There are rumors circulating that Garrett Cole might be pitching some spring baseball. So if that's happening, I think Cole's way further along than what everyone has been expecting, especially coming off his second Tommy John. And with Rodon, Fried, Cole, Weathers is like your 5th option. And Schlittler, I know you said you need to see more out of him. I think Schlittler is a dog. I think he is so good. And I think he's the Yankees version of Trey Savage, like that new up and coming young prospect who's got high strikeout potential. And I don't think he's as good as Trey Savage, but I think if we're going to give Toronto the benefit of the doubt of Trey Savage, I have to give Cam Schlittler that for the Yankees, like bias or non-bias. I have to, from what I've seen. That being said, obviously Boston's my number 3. They have bunch of great arms. I just think that their bottom end, their 4-5 is still questionable. And I question Ranger Suarez and Sonny Gray. Like, did Heim Bloom move him at the right time as he gets older? He's going to owe $31 million this year. Like, will he be able to dominate in Boston the way he dominated in St. Louis and, Oakland even before he went to the Yankees? So we'll see. We'll see. But I have the Yankees as 2 then. And that means your number 2 is Boston. So do you have any particulars in Boston you want to talk about before we jump to our number 1 team?
I think when you have a guy like Garrett Crochet, who's probably the third best pitcher on the planet, you get a little bit of a boost there. And then like I'm not a huge Ranger guy, but you mix the front line rotation there with Crochet, Suarez, and Sonny Gray. I really like Sonny Gray a lot. I honestly liked him even as the 2 in Boston. So now that he's essentially the 3, I like that a lot. I really like Brian Bale on the back end there, and I believe in Johan Oviedo out there to eat some innings there. And I think too, even if things don't really work out for him there, and let's say that Oviedo doesn't really work out great, you still have Peyton Tolley who can go up there. You have Connolly Early who's going to be in there too. I mean, those are 2 great pitchers right there, and that's not even including Cutter Crawford when he comes back, Tanner Houck when he comes back. I'm sorry, Tanner Houck's be out for the year, but Patrick Sandoval too is be back at some point too. So I mean, I think they have a lot of depth too, and if someone goes down, you could argue they're better. I mean, Tolley probably should be in the opening day rotation.
Yeah, Peyton Tolley's a dog. And I think that he is kind of the odd man out here, and he shouldn't be necessarily. But Boston, I don't think, unless they have an Armageddon type event with their rotation, like they have guys to back up their frontline guys. So they're in a nice spot, and that I really contemplated putting them over the Yankees just because of the depth. But I don't, I can't justify what the Yankees are paying. I'm not just saying because someone's making a certain amount of money. That's the definition of their success on the field. But between Rodon, Fried, Cole, the Yankees are paying 2, and that's not including Luis Gil, who won Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago. We're not talking about Cam Schlittler. We're not talking about Ryan Weathers. And Ryan Yarbrough is going to start some games in the Yankees. I think they just have a 3-headed juggernaut up top, especially in full force. And I looked at this as a exercise of like everyone's back on the mat, and all 3 of these guys, they should be back. It's not like they just went under the knife or something like that. Like Cole's been rehabbing for almost the better part of a year. Rodon's been rehabbing. Fried looked fantastic last year, and that's where I'm coming from. But let's jump to our number 1 team and our last point, the Toronto Blue Jays. So the Toronto Blue Jays are, obviously they lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Dodgers in the World Series last year, and it wasn't due to a lack of talent. If we run through their depth chart right now of the rotation, we are looking at Kevin Gausman, Dylan Cease, Trey Savage, Jose Barrios, Cody Ponce, and that doesn't include Shane Bieber, who's right now sidelined. Shane Bieber, I think, will be back. He's dealing with forearm fatigue, and this happened earlier in November when this came about. So I think they're just going to rest him as much as possible, and then, I guess, ramp him up at some point here to join the rotation. But I think that Toronto's pitching problems are a thing of the past. Like, they look like they're going to be right there to contend for an AL championship this year.
I mean, yeah, Toronto is still going to be up there as arguably the best team in all American League right now. I mean, you get Dylan Cease. Some people are going to say, "Oh, he's a 4-year pitcher." There's a reason why. Look at all the pitchers that were signed this offseason. There's a lot of good pitchers signed this offseason. Why do you think Dylan Cease got $200 million and no one else even sniffed that? That's the way I would tell people to look at that. Obviously, you have Kevin Gausman. We saw what he was able to do as a pitcher of the front line of the rotation. Trey Savage, I mean, the dude's a rookie, and he was carving in the playoffs last year. I mean, he still has rookie eligibility, and he pitched like 30 innings in the playoffs. I mean, it's incredible what he's done. Cody Ponson was just the KBO MVP or MVP, whatever, when he came from, was the MVP there, the Cy Young equivalent out there. I mean, that's incredible. And then Jose Barrios is probably going to be the odd man out here. But even though, like, Jose Barrios is not a bad pitch by any means, even if he's your 5, who cares? He's going to eat innings for you. That's not even including, like you're saying, when Shane Bieber comes back, which I believe is going to be pretty first couple months into the season. It's not going to be the all-star break type of deal. I mean, the Toronto Blue Jays are just a very, very good pitching staff.
Yeah. No, that, and the AL is stacked. That's the bottom line. The American League East is stacked this year, especially with quality pitching. And when we rank these, like, how many of these 5 teams would be above the other 10 teams in the American League in terms of the rotations? Probably a good amount, like of the other rotations in the league, like the White Sox, the Guardians. The Guardians don't have the rotation they used to have. The White Sox are still young. You look at the Twins, top heavy. You look at I'm trying to think, the Royals. The Royals have a really good rotation. They'd be up there for sure. But I like it better than the Angels rotation, and I like it better than the Athletics rotation, who's smart. Luis Severino is the Athletics #1 pitcher right now. So, like, it could be worse for some of these teams if you're taking this as a heartbreak. But that's it for me. I'm all good on news and notes this week. Do you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
Honestly, no, I don't have anything else to add this week.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Follow us on social media. Rate us 5 stars. It helps us out a lot. If you feel like subscribing, giving our writers and our podcasters a few extra dollars on the side for all the work we put in, we greatly appreciate it. Feel free to grab your merch from the store on the website. We had a bunch of good articles come out this week, so go give them a look. And we are out.